Roland's asking what studios you worked with. Anything in Montreal or Vancouver?
No, nothing in Montreal or Vancouver. Actually, most of my career was in 3 different studios. Sandbox Studios was a very small studio that I started working at, and that was only for like 2 years. They got bought out by DICE, guys who make Battlefield. So I worked on Battlefield for a while.
Oh, wow.
And then after that, I co-founded a company called Big Blue Bubble, and their biggest claim to fame is My Singing Monsters, which is an app game, which is like an iPhone app, and it's been going on for 10 years now. But that's the studio I left, was the one I co-founded. That was where and now my contract work is actually, it's an NDA, so I can't actually tell you where I'm working currently. But
no, that's awesome, dude. That's really cool. I always love talking. We've had a few people on this show in the past that have done video games, but also have made comics too. Like, God, I'm blanking on their names, but they did that wrestling comic, Johnny. Remember?
I do remember that.
WrestleTopia. I think they worked on Leisure Suit Larry, and I forget what that war game.
The original Leisure.
No, it was the
new one.
PlayStation 2. It
All
was
right,
where it's like Larry's son or something, and it was during college.
He had a full head of hair.
Yeah. And they worked on
Kelly.
What's that?
So I was gonna say Kelly Bender, indie comic creator, started in indie comics and then ended up getting a job at Ubisoft, writing over there. So it's like, cool. You can easily pivot between, Yeah,
it seems like it goes hand in hand, actually.
I heard video game writing very hard because it's a lot of content you have to put together.
There is a lot of content. I once wrote a script for this game that we put out. I honestly don't even remember what the name of the game was, because I've probably worked on 100 titles, if not over.
Wow.
So because some of them there's a range of things you do on them, different levels of projects. And in my position, I touched on a lot of projects. So before ones were done, I was jumping on another one, or I was doing 2 at once, helping. So, but there was one I wrote a story for, and it was like multiple branching paths everywhere. And this, the guy who was designing it had this crazy chart, and I was like, this is a lot. I was like, just so you know, I was like, I can write the story, but there's a reason. Like, he wanted a legitimate, like, choose your own path, because usually a lot of choose your own paths come back to the same point. And the reason for that is, if you do actually do a lot of choose your own paths, there's so much content that people aren't going to see, and they're going to go through it once, and then they're not going to see the rest of the stuff.
You're almost creating a whole
it's
nother
too
game.
sideways.
Depending on the branches, it's like, what? So this person only played through 15% of the game, and the other like 85% you just throw in the trash of story and content and art and people that we paid for. So like, because the only way they're going to experience that is by replaying the game over and over again. But anyways, I was like, okay, all right. I said my piece, and I was like, I'm going to write your story. So I wrote this crazy story in a way that it all ties up, no matter which path you took. It was a pain in the ass. And then I was like horribly sick for like a week more. I don't know. I was gone for over a week at the studio. I came back, and people started coming into my office, and they're like, hey, this part, I don't get this part of the story. And I was like, I didn't write that. And then I was like, I didn't write this. And people were like, I don't understand. I was like, I didn't write this either. I was like, where'd this come from? They're like, oh, this is what the designer gave me. I was like, let me go talk to him. So I went to talk to him. I was like, what happened? He's like, oh, I was inspired while you were gone, so I rewrote the script. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? And he's like, and then I was like, but I put so much work into it. He's like, yeah, I know, but you figured out, I just changed the parts. You figured out how it all came together and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, all right, fine, I'm out. So I went back, and then people kept coming back saying, oh, the story didn't work, and this and that and the other thing. And he's like, maybe you're right. Maybe we can fix it. Can you fix this? No. I was like, no, I can't fix this. I was like, I am not fixing what you did, because not only did he change the story, but as he was changing it, he's like, oh, it was too hard to match up, so I just changed the design to match the thing. And I was like, I know it was hard. I was telling you it was hard, but you didn't seem to care when I was writing it. But now that you're writing it,
right,
you realize it's too hard. So you made less paths, and you changed the path the player had to take. So I was like, I'm out.
So it's one thing to give notes on a script to go, oh, it was inspired. Maybe you could try this, try that, right? But not break your script only to go, oh, you have to fix it again. No, totally, man.
That's fixing that again.
So you know what? So like this sounds like it sounds like corporate meddling in the creative process. Would you say that was kind of the?
Yeah, it wasn't the corporate portion of it, but that does happen.
Yeah,
it definitely does happen. People who have their eye on the bottom line, like you need those people, but when they start interfering too much with the creative people, then it's bad.
Right. Yeah.
But that wasn't what this was. This was just some overzealous designer who thought like, well, I'm going to do whatever I want. I got this figured out. This is my project. I think that might have been the only game he's ever designed.
I wonder why.
Wow.
I wonder why.
Yeah, me.
Vigilante, hardcore. I work hard, becoming hip hop Dexter, rats Hannibal Lecter. What drop comes out your mouth? Vigilante, very M-A-T. My mental state.
Yeah, I saw him at Wallace, where I used to do the Plastic City Comic-Con.
Oh, wow.
Back when they used to do concerts back in like the mid-90s.
My second ever concert was Foo Fighters at that venue at the Wallace Civic Center. Fun time to dust off an old story. I was in high school. I went to go see Foo Fighters that night.
Yeah.
Wallace Civic Center is a very small place. So we used to do that load-in, Keith, in the back.
Yeah.
After the concert, I went around back with my friends because we wanted to meet Dave Grohl and we wanted to meet Foo Fighters and we wanted to meet the drummer from Nirvana.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I left my parents out front waiting for me, who were picking me up on a school night. My angry Italian mom. So wait, let me rewind. We're waiting around back and it's getting late and we're waiting for Dave Grohl and the band and stuff. And finally, they came through, and I'm waiting in line for my autograph. And just as Dave Grohl's getting to me and he's signing my autograph, my mom comes fucking like a mad bull from around the back, from where the parking lot is, around to the back, and starts yelling at me in Italian in front
with a rolling pin.
Like, pretty much, we're very we're very shy away from the rolling pin. All right. So I'm mortified because here I am getting reprimanded by my mom in front of Dave Grohl, and Dave Grohl very calmly and plainly just looks up at my mom and responds to her in Italian.
Mi dispiace tanto di aver tenuto tuo figlio fuori fino a tardi in un giorno feriale, ma grazie mille per averlo lasciato venire allo spettacolo.
I'm so sorry for keeping your son out late on a weeknight, but thank you very much for letting him come to the show. And I was in shock because he actually replied to her in her native tongue. And she was like, well, you better have it on a weekend next time. and she pulled me out of there. It was just wild.
Italian mothers, they don't give a shit about like celebrity, nothing.
So my mom yelled at Dave Grohl. And that's my story.